What do they actually need to understand first before they actually start using it?
You feel like you're behind, then you're smart, because you are. One of the really confusing things about AI is AI works on itself. This version of AI is already coding the next version of AI, which means that the release cycle is beyond human capabilities.
At the beginning of 2023, I said two things. The very first thing that I said was there will be two types of businesses. The very first business is somebody who's scaling exponentially because they have adopted AI. And then the second type of business is a business that actually goes out of business. So that's the very first thing I said. The other thing I said, because we have a virtual assistance team and also team members and in locally that work for us, I also said that AI will not replace you, but somebody with AI will. And if we fast forward to 3 years later, right? But that I said that about almost 3.5 years later. It was that actually at the December of 2023, 2022. I remember that conversation very, very well with my team. And if we fast forward to now, almost 3.5 years later, we're seeing it happen. It's coming to life, right? There are two types of business. One who's scaling exponentially. We are one of those. I know your business is as well, Peter. And then there are people, unfortunately, that are going out of business because they have not adopted AI into their business. And we are now seeing members of our team, they're scaling, they're improving, they're making more money, and they're getting better jobs within our own company because they have adopted AI as well. And then we are also at the same time releasing and letting go of certain people who are not leveraging AI because they're being replaced by those who are using AI. So here we are. And that's who I actually have with us today, which is Peter Swain. He has a very intimate relationship with AI. So I'm going to have him kind of introduce himself here. But before I introduce him, I want to share with you what I mean by that. I teach business principles based on relationship principles, right? You want to be in a relationship with somebody. You have to be in proximity, right? You got to get seen by them or be in proximity with them. And then once you're in proximity with them and the energy's there, you're excited that you're attracted to this one person. You're not going to walk up to them and ask them to marry you, right? You're going to ask them to go on a first date with you. And then after the first date goes amazing, you're going to ask them on a second date with you. And after the second date goes amazing, somebody's going to make a move, meaning to give that person a kiss or do something bold enough to get on first, second, or third base, right? And then after that, you start dating become boyfriend and girlfriend, get really intimate. And then if you feel like it's the right person, you make them an offer, right, to marry you. And if they say they don't slap you and they ended up saying yes, then you kind of move on to the marrying them and then ultimately building a life, having children, building, a whole life, buying houses and being lovers for life. That's the relationship model. And I apply the same thing in a relationship with AI. And I am so happy to have Peter here because I do believe that Peter is at the stage of a relationship with AI, unlike most people in the world. He's at the lovers for life stage. He has built a really deep, intimate relationship with AI since I've known him. Since ChatGPT's launch in November 22, I saw him dive into AI even before that, right? Before it became open to the public. So he is somebody I so trust in this arena because he has a lovers for life. He's not just married to AI. AI is his lover for life. So welcome to the stage, Peter. How are you doing, my friend?
I am fantastic. I'm excited for today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting metaphor that you use. Somebody once said, that I see it as a second skin. And I think it's kind of close to what you're saying of this is such an exciting moment in human history, let alone our history, let alone our lifetime, of we are no longer the smartest thing on the planet. We've been the
Exactly.
smartest thing on the planet since we crawled out of a swamp,
Right.
and now we're not.
Yep.
So you've got to learn to speak AI. You've got to, I think you do anyway. I think you have to. I don't really think you have a choice. And I'm a pragmatist. Like, if I could get rid of this thing, honestly, I probably would, because I'm not sure we're ready for it. But I can't. So all in.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're gonna get back to that whole lovers for life relationship where I do see a lot of people who talk a big game, right? And when you start asking them questions, you kind of watch how they're using it, how the application process. You kind of like, wow, this person's really just at the first date with AI, right? They're not. They think they're married to AI. They think they're gonna have kids with children with AI. They're not even there, not even close. So we'll get back to that in a little bit here. So I use that model because it's true, right? Whether you're looking to build a business, acquire more clients, or what type of relationship you actually have with AI, that relationship model works. It's life and business principles that are timeless, right? So my very first question for you, Peter, is this: for somebody who hears AI everywhere, right? People are talking about, people are starting using, housewives are using it for all kinds of stuff as well, but they feel like they're still behind. What do they do? What do they actually need to understand first before they actually start using it?
Okay, so great question. So I do this thing on stage where I ask everyone to rate themselves out of 10 with AI. And you get all sorts of ranges, so up to like 7, 8s, 9s. And I always then kind of say, well, that's interesting because I rate myself a 4. And they go, what? And you see people's heads saying, like, well, everything changed this morning. So how do you think you're an 8?
Right, right,
Like,
right.
so the first thing I'd say to everyone is if you feel like you're behind, then you're smart, because you are. We all are. One of the really confusing things about AI is AI works on itself. So AI, this version of AI is already coding the next version of AI, which means that the release cycle is beyond human capability. So you can literally go to sleep and go, right, C Dance 2 is the right video model. And then, okay, let's take an example that happened today. Google Nano Banana Pro is the image generation platform. No, OpenAI announced their image platform last night and it blows Nano Banana Pro out the water. A week ago, Kling was the leading video model. Cdance is now, 6 days ago, Cdance is now the model. 4 days ago, Figma was your go-to for design work. Then Claude Design comes out and kills it in a day. So we're not talking small little tiny moves. We're talking massive moves. So number one, if you feel like you're behind, you are, and it's impossible not to be. So it's okay. It's all about the mindset of being able to live in that uncertainty versus trying to find the certainty. That's number one. Number two, I don't recommend anybody tries to learn AI. What I recommend they do is look across their business or look across their life and work out what thing they want to change and then find the right technological application to help them do that. Because if you want to do headers for blogs, header images for blogs, you don't need to be using the latest and greatest model. It doesn't make any difference because the one from 6 months ago is going to be good enough. So you don't need to chase the dragon to the latest, greatest thing if the old thing achieves the goal that you need from that thing. So start with the end in mind. Start with what is it I'm trying to get done here? What would change? What would move the needle in my life, my business, my finances, my health, my relationships, my business, wherever it might be. And then do the research, speak to people like me and go, okay, well, what do I need to get that done? And then I think you start getting into it that way. So
Yeah,
number
I
one,
love that.
if you're looking for certainty, don't expect it. This is the most uncertain time of our lives. You've got to be okay with that. Number two, if you think you're behind, congratulations, you're smart because you are. And number three, if you're trying to keep up with it, it's my full-time job and I can't keep up with it. So maybe don't try and achieve something impossible. Maybe instead just try and achieve something possible, which is, well, what is it I need to change? That's what I'd
Yeah,
say.
I love that. And so basically, if you're listening to this, I'm going to reference back to the relationship model, right? Me and my wife have been we've been together for 21 years, 21 years this December, and treated just like AI, right? I'm always learning new things about her, right? 21 years later, and I'll probably do that till my last breath. I'm still courting her, right? Because once that stops, once we stop courting each other, right? The passion's gone, the love's gone. Once we stop learning about each other, we have no interest in each other, or we think that we've learned enough from each other. AI is the same way. Then we're settling. Does that make sense? We're settling. So treat it just like a relationship. Whatever happened at the beginning, you got to continue doing that because it's growing fast, really, really fast. Right? It's always learning, it's always evolving, and there's always new things. Just like some of the stuff that Peter, shared of how some of these things that were better just as of last night, it got crushed by something else already. It's how fast it's evolving. So understand that it's an evolution. It's continuously learning, right? So, Peter, myths. What are the biggest myths people have about AI?
Cool. Number one, that's a really, really good question. I haven't been asked that before. The biggest myth I would say is when people say, well, it can't do that as well as a human. So you've got this core question. And as you said, I've spent a lot of time really thinking about this, of how much of what you do in work is divine and how much of it is happening in your brain. So how much of your gut instinct is actually happening in your gut versus happening in your head? Because if you come to the conclusion that the majority of things you do in a day-by-day job, the results of your prefrontal cortex and all this stuff up here, then the answer is AI can do it. It might not be able to do it now, but it certainly will be able to do it soon. So when they say, well, AI can't be creative, it can't have a unique thought. That's something that people say. Well, neither can you, neither can I. All you and I can do is synthesize everything we've ever learnt, do pattern matching in order to conceive a new idea, which is exactly what AI does. So most of the time that people aren't getting results, it's because they don't realize. This is a slight departure from what you asked, but I think it's really important. AI is one of the most sycophantic, people-pleasing technologies of all time. And people think it's a bug, and it's not a bug, it was a feature. And the feature was there because that's how you get 800 million users in 3 years' time. You don't get it by saying, you ask it to do something and it says you suck. You get it by saying, that's a great idea. So most people, unlike you and I, most people want to be told that they're brilliant. You and I don't have that trait, and I would guess that your customers and the people listening to this don't have that trait either. We actually want to hear the truth. If we're doing something stupid, I want someone to stop me and go, that's really dumb. So I can go, okay, teach me, tell me, because I want to grow. But most people their egos are so fragile that they want to be told they're brilliant consistently, whether they're being brilliant or not. So most people pick up AI, don't give it anywhere near enough context for it to do the job it needs to do. And then they come to one of two conclusions, either that it's brilliant or that it's terrible. And the reason they come to two different conclusions is whether they have used it for something that they're good at or not. So if they're a copywriter, they'll say, write me an email about this. And it comes up and they go, well, that's terrible, because they didn't give it any context. And then on the flip side, people will say, help me diagnose this medical condition. And they'll go, well, that was brilliant, because it gave a very convincing answer. But in both instances, it's done the same thing. It's given a convincing answer about something that you didn't give it anywhere near enough context about. So it gave you something that sounds good. So myth number one would be people think that AI can't, and I promise you it can. Myth number two is that people vastly overestimate the importance of the prompt and vastly underestimate the importance of context. Context is everything. It's the whole, MIT proved it. Context is responsible for over 90% of the output.
Totally. I 100% agree. Yeah, so, as a user, as a user for sure. You shared a statistic that was pretty fascinating there, and this is a statistic that is actually repeated as a pattern in other areas as well, like finances, for example. The top 10%, right, in the US generate about $348,000 per year. Top five is like $500,000, and then the top 1% are doing almost $1.2 million. Then you look at the 90%, the 90 percentile, it's like $86,000. These are real statistics as of last year, right? You shared something about 800 some users in 3 years. So my question is, there's over 8 billion people. What are the other 90% doing? You think that are not users? Because again, this is like, why are the only 10% making the 10% of the money? Why are only 10% are using AI? What's going on there?
But and that's my constant fear, and that's why 3 years ago I quit what I was doing and went into this full time. Because as you said, there are two futures on offer to us now. Let's talk about something else just very, very quickly, then we'll come back to this. What most people don't understand is that this isn't even a revolution. This is a paradigm shift. This is a paradigm shift in how humans will human. It's a paradigm shift in how we'll have relationships, how we'll form relationships, how we'll make money, how we'll be parents, how our kids will go to school. Everything is about to change. And most people, 99%, don't like that. Most people would rather that wasn't the case. I used to say this, of you can tell an entrepreneur a mile away, because an entrepreneur's first instinct is to see change as opportunity, and a non-entrepreneur's first instinct is to see change as risk. So like my just should you be an entrepreneur test is that if I tell you this is about to happen, do you start thinking about the opportunity, or do you start thinking about the risks associated with it? I'm not saying there aren't risks, just there's opportunity. So if most people would rather this didn't exist, their response then, and this is where it's kind of flawed, is to not pick it up, is to not adopt it, is to not enable it, thinking that that will shield them from the problem. But all it actually does is shield them from the win, because the problems that come with AI are the second and third order consequences. It's the changes to employment. It's the changes to our ability to earn money because our customers might not have money. It's the second and third order consequences you're going to get hit with whether you do this or not. But the wins only come from the first order, which is using it. So by not using it, you remove your advantages, but you will still suffer the disadvantages. So have you ever, it's like Pascal's wager. Like there's only one winning move in this game. And the only winning move is to go, okay, I'm all in. AI, you and I met in the Tony space. Not what do I do? What do I really do? What do my customers want me to do? Spending a lot of time thinking about who am I? Why am I important? How am I going to foster community? How am I going to foster trust? AI is going to do the job better than you. So if AI is going to do the job better than you, how do you stay relevant in that equation? Should be the question people are asking. Should I adopt AI? That should be a given, because otherwise you're not going to have any benefit. Now, those statistics, the 800 million, that's only OpenAI, and that doesn't accommodate the Chinese companies, which are going to be huge numbers that we have no way to know. So I would say the number of worldwide users is probably closer to 2 billion, but that still leaves you a pretty big swathe.
6 billion. What are they doing?
Yeah,
crazy.
100%.
And you probably have seen the difference between somebody who uses it as a toy and somebody who uses it as a real asset in their life, their relationship, their business. And you probably seen the difference it makes in their life as well. So what's the difference? Can you share some examples of somebody who uses it as a toy and uses it as a real asset?
Yeah, so we have a couple of levels that we refer to and how we kind of grade people in our world. Level one is it's a replacement for Google. So they're using ChatGPT. How do I bake a cake?
Yep.
Those people also use it to answer emails as a general rule. And I think they're getting themselves a 5-10% increase in life productivity, but it's not much. Level two is where you start using the same technologies, but you start using them with that intentional focus. You start saying sentences like, okay, my profit is down 15% from last year. Here's my figures. Here's my P&L. Here's my cash flow. Here's my statements from my bank. What changed? Why did it change? How did it change? How do I improve it? So it goes from level one to level two, goes from non-intentional use to intentional use. Then we get to the next level up. So we now get to level three. And level 3 is where we start delegating the work instead of, so we're no longer having a chat conversation. We're now tasking, not talking. We're now like, okay, fix this, do this, make this, build this. The next level up, level 4, is where we're going into agentic, which is where some of these things don't even hit us in the first place. So the agent replaces the human in the organization of like, oh, your job is to stop churn. Your job is to cancel this. Your job is to do refunds so that we don't even get aware of the thing. And then the fifth one, which I don't think we have the technology for yet, but I think we'll have in the next 20 months tops. I think I'd say 18 now. I used to say 3 years, but I think it's about 18 months, is where we're co-creating with AI. Where we'll wake up in the morning, OpenClaw and NanoClaw and NemoClaw are the kind of very first version of this, is where we're waking up in the morning. It says, hey, sis, I saw this trend on Twitter, on X. I took this course that we've already got. I repackaged it with this. I deployed it. And by the way, there's $15,000 in your bank account. So it becomes a co-creation between us and AI working towards the same goals and the same things. Fun little fact for you, which not many people know. My version of OpenClaw gets paid a salary because it's doing work. So I figured it should get paid so that if it does become sentient, then I'm not part of the slave trade accidentally.
That's funny. So if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, comment what level you're actually using it at, right? So Peter said that the first level is, you go from the Google it to Ask Chat, right? That's what the transition there is, Google it to Ask Chat. Then the second is you're now intentionally using it. You're asking it questions. This is what's wrong, what's going on, right? All that stuff. You're talking to it. Third level is actually tasking it, right? Telling it, sharing it to do things for you. And then the fourth level is where you're setting up agents, right? Is that the fourth level? Yeah, you're setting up agents. They're doing all the work. They're doing tasks, doing things better than even you. They're replacing people now, quite honestly, even you, right? There's a statistic there that talks about the job force is going to be totally like 80, almost 90% wiped out, right? Some of the work, because it's going to do a better job than you.
The statistics I've seen, we've worked with people in like Congress and Senator offices, United Nations, think tanks, like really, really high level research, is they're predicting the smallest prediction I've seen is 20% unemployment, persistent and consistent by this time next year. And the biggest I've seen is 85% unemployment by 2030. And those are pretty sobering numbers.
Yeah, totally. So type in what level, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. Where are people overcomplicating AI in their life, their relationship, their business? Where are they overcomplicating this?
So lots of people want to know how it works, and nobody knows how it works, really. There was this great interview once with the guys that made FaceTime, the thing that recognizes your face. And they said, so how does it work? And they went, we have no clue. But we also, again, we don't know how the human brain works. Another good one that people say is, well, AI hallucinates or lies. And they say it hallucinates like 30% of the time, which is true, but humans do it 15% of the time. So if we're going to make comparisons, let's make apples for apples comparisons. Yes, AI does tell untruths, and so does humans. So it's not a perfect comparison. Where I think that people get this massively wrong, Sis, is they say the sentence, well, I'm not technical. There are something, and I'm making this number up, but there's something around 68,000 patents in the internal combustion engine of a car. Technology's job is to become invisible. If anyone's watching this, if they look at any object on their desk, there are thousands and thousands of patents and industrial processes that went to that being there. And I said this once on stage, and somebody said, not true. My pencil's made from wood. Like, you know how many patents are in an industrial buzz saw? You know how many patents were in the truck that moved the log to the lumberjack, to the place where it milled it? Do you know how many patents there were in the treatment of the wood so it didn't just fall it? Like hundreds of thousands of technical processes for you to have a wood pencil in your hand. You don't need to be technical to use this. This is the least technological tech ever. If you can use Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or SMS, you can use this because you type and it types back. And in fact, if you install something like Willow Voice or Whisperflow, you don't even need to type. You can just talk and it will talk back. So that's where I think people get confused. They go, I'm not technical. Yes, as you go through those levels I just described, 1 through 4, you will need some more technical aptitude. But even then, AI will tell you how to do it. Like if you go, well, I'm confused, talk me through this like a 6th grader, tell me one thing at once. Like I was setting up, you'll understand this one. I was setting up conversion events for Metapixels today, and I wanted different, because obviously Andromeda, as you know, we've got to get much better at signaling to Facebook what's good for us and what's bad for us. So we've got these 6 different events that we're firing at different times. And I was like, I'm lost. So I'm like, hey, Claude, so this is what I'm trying to do. You just give me the step by step, only one at once. Tell me what to click on and what to type so that I can give it back to you so that you can write the code to hook it up from our end. And it goes, great. Step 1, go to search Google for Business Facebook Manager. I'm like, okay, Business Facebook Manager. And it goes, great, I'm there. And it goes, step 2, hit ads. I'm like, great, I'm there. It took half an hour. We walked through it. We set up all the events. EMQ score is now 9.8, which is what we want. And our click-through rates on our ads currently at 9.5%, which is through the roof, because AI knows how to do it better than you do. You've just got to be willing to shelve your ego and become the conductor of the orchestra, not the first violin in the orchestra. And go, okay, let's cook. Let's do this. How do we do this? And it'll do a pretty good job.
It'll tell you, right? It'll tell you for sure. It's a little different than women. Women, they don't clearly tell you, but ChatGPT or your AI will tell you.
Hey, on that subject though, here's a fascinating thing. In our community, and we've been running these communities for entrepreneurs and AI for 3 years now, women accelerate quicker than men. Because what women do, and again, just massively stereotyping and generalizing, but I was born in the 70s, not the 90s, so I'm still a throwback.
Yeah.
What women do is they when it goes wrong, they say, what did I say wrong? So, which is, it sounds negative, but it's empowering because they're taking ownership of the communication with AI. Whereas what men tend to do is they say, why didn't it do what I told it to do?
Yeah.
Which sounds positive, but is disempowering, because if the problem is inside the black box, how does it get fixed? Whereas if the problem's inside you, then it can be fixed. So it's one thing that we kind of adopted in our teaching of telling people, don't ask the AI why it didn't do the thing. Ask the AI why it did the thing from what you said. If you accept that it didn't make a mistake and you did make a mistake, it completely changes your relationship with it really quickly. Because when it doesn't do what I want it to do, my first instinct now is to go, what did I say that led you to think that this is what I wanted?
Yeah.
And it go, well, I remember I had one the other day where it said, I was trying to build this thing where it would look through all of the content in our library, and you could type in a challenge and it would say, yeah, at moment 4 minutes and 18 on this video on this day, Pete talked about this. And it just was not working. And I was getting really frustrated. It took an entire day. And at the end, I remembered my own advice. And I went, just stop. Tell me what is wrong in this. Why am I getting this outcome? And it said, oh, you said that I should consult this database, not that I must consult this database. And I'm like, oh my God.
That was it.
So that was it. Because we use words in English, we use words like should, could, and would very interchangeably. Because humans, as we spoke about earlier, humans are great at context. We are fantastic at context. If somebody says to you, hey, if there's a fire, you should use the door over there. You understand that means that if there's a fire, you absolutely must use that door over there. It wasn't an invitation, which is what the word should is. It was a requirement. But because people are genuinely polite and nice, instead of saying you must, they will say you should. I saw it in our holiday forms the other day. Somebody was sick, that works for us, and they didn't report in. I was like, hey, why don't you report in? And they went, well, what do you mean? And I read it, and I'm like, there it is. It says, if you are sick, you should call us on. No, if you are sick, you must call us. You or a family member must call us. Otherwise, it is regarded as an unauthorized absence.
Yeah, totally.
So
That's
humans use
huge.
these softeners everywhere. And I'm willing to bet the reason you and Phyllis are still married is because you're pretty good at not using softeners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%.
Same with me and Liz. Like, we
Yep,
communicate clearly, and people will
yep,
like back away from us going, whoa,
yep,
that was blunt. Yes, it was.
yep,
It was clearly communicated.
100%. Yeah,
So
I love
everyone's
that.
where they stand.
Yeah. I reference the three areas that are most important to us as human beings is ourselves, right? Yourself, your relationships, your work, right? Your mission, your work, your business. If and I've learned that there's a group of people who are super excited about AI. There's a group of people who are scared of AI, and then there's this group of people who are scared to actually learn AI. So if somebody's here and they're new, where should they start with AI in their life, their relationships, their work?
Yeah.
Where should they start?
So, well, first of all, I haven't necessarily been that successful in achieving that goal of getting them to cross over that line. But let's try again, because it boggles me and it frustrates me, and it's But anyway, my answer to everybody is 15 minutes a day. Just literally diarize it, 15 minutes a day. And if you don't know what to say, then literally say this. I was just hearing from this British dude on a podcast that said I should use AI for 15 minutes a day. I have no idea what to do. So tag your it. So if you don't know what to say, just literally say that. Just listening to this guy who said I should use AI 50 minutes a day. I don't know what to say. Tag your it. That's it. In fact, you could just type Mary had a little lamb. It really doesn't matter. As soon as you type anything, it's going to talk back to you. So that's number one, 15 minutes a day. And number two, do not start before you have some discernment around the technology. Do not start with your relationships. Do not start with legal issues. Do not start with finance issues. Do not start with medical issues. Like, one of the first things I did, sis, is got ChatGPT at the time. I don't use it anymore, but ChatGPT, to write a book for my son. It was one of the first moments where I was like, I'm all in, because he was struggling he was in lockdown in the UK during COVID, so he fell a bit behind academically. And one of the things he fell behind in his reading level, fell behind. So I went to his room and I was like, why is this happening? And I realized that we'd given him hand-me-down books from his big sister. So Olivia likes likes unicorns and princesses and fairies and alicorns and etc. Sam likes trucks, robots, bugs, poo, mud. Like, we have two very gender typical children. We didn't try to, but that's what we got. So we were asking Sam to learn to read with books that he didn't actually find interesting.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you idiot. So I went on Amazon to buy him some books. And it struck me then, I was like, I wonder if I can do this with AI. I wonder if I can write him a book. So it took about 2 hours to do the first time. I can now do it in about 20 seconds, but it took me 2 hours to write him a book. And it was called Sam the Space Pirate Visits the Mutant Moon. And he's the character. And it had, storylines in it that I knew he'd find interesting. And there were words that I was like, he's not going to understand what that means. Find another way to say that. So we wrote him the perfect book for him. And the iPad got thrown away, and he read it cover to cover, back to back, forwards, backwards. And when I gave it to him, he said, Dad, you wrote me a book? Like, yeah, I wrote you a book. And that was the moment probably I just became like this huge advocate, because I saw the difference it made in my son's life, and it empowered something. So take 15 minutes a day and start with something that you're going to find fun, because humans learn by playing. That's how we've always learned. So don't tackle the legal issue or the P&L unless you're a finance dude. Like, tackle making flashcards to teach yourself Japanese. Tackle something that can play Pokemon with you and train you on Pokemon. Tackle something that is going to light up your spirit and light up your soul.
My mother-in-law, she started using it about 8 or 9 months ago. We taught her ChatGPT, right? So that's where we started her. And man, I could see the difference it's made in her life and her work and all that stuff. So yeah, for sure. You said something about you don't use ChatGPT anymore. You went to what and why?
So I went to Claude for a couple of reasons. Two of them are political and philosophical, and one of them is practical. So the practical reason first is ChatGPT has become so pedantic and so specific that it's bordering on useless now. So for example, if you say to ChatGPT, I need your help with this, ask me every question that you need to ask until you're 100% certain you know all of the context in order to give me advice. If you do that with ChatGPT, it will literally ask you questions forever because you can never be 100% confident. Therefore, it will continue to ask you questions. And for literally forever, it will ask you questions for the rest of time. Claude, on the other hand, will understand what you meant by that sentence, that it should ask you questions until it's 95% certain. So Claude has a more human intelligence. So it's not a case that ChatGPT is worse. In fact, some ways it's actually better. But the learning curve of communication that you need to work with ChatGPT is so much higher versus Claude. Everybody that does the move from ChatGPT to Claude, literally everybody I talk to loves it. And I've never once heard in 3 years of somebody going the other way.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Totally.
that kind of says everything. Then the political reasons is I am fundamentally against the use of AI in autonomous weapon systems. I think it is a mistake.
Yep.
This isn't an anti-American statement. This is a I don't want another Manhattan Project statement of, if America invests in this, which they are, and I'm not American, I don't have a part to play in that political system, but it is inevitable that then so does Russia, so does China, so does Iran, so does India. And we're back to what we tried to get ourselves out of for 50 years. So I don't agree with autonomous weapon systems being produced by AI, number one. The second one is OpenAI opening up an ad platform. And I am very much against monetization of conversations. And even if you untick the don't send my data to train the model, they have not confirmed and will not confirm that they're not sending the data to train the ad model.
Yep.
I want to be able to talk about my sexuality, my relationship issues, my deepest, darkest fears and desires, which is a lot of people have very, very intimate conversations with AI.
Okay.
I think monetizing that for the sake of ads is a very, very bad idea.
Yeah.
So practically, I don't think ChatGPT is the best solution on the market. Politically, I don't think AI should be used for autonomous weapons. And I am morally against monetizing conversations of that nature for the sake of advertising.
Wow. Most people have not heard that explained that way. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk about research. How do you, because again, Google used to be the research, right? How do you use AI for research and what some examples of what you use, what you leverage for research purposes?
So my main research engine is a company called Manus, manus.im.
Mm-hmm.
Manus has a very interesting approach. They have something called wide research versus deep research, which is they spawn several AI processes all at the same time, and each of them will inform the others what they learnt. And it's been proven time after time that social intelligence is greater than individual intelligence. So this thing will go, hey, I was looking at this, but I just found this. You might want to know about it. So they all learn. I use it for updated hooks, stories, messaging of what are my customers actually concerned about? How do I need to position what I need to say? I look at it for a research. I mean, I don't. It now does it automatically. But every single day I understand what my competition have done, what they're posting, and the unique advantages there. I have running research agents for around health conditions that people in my family have. I have running research agents around my health and peptides. It's something I'm interested in, of just finding out new information so I can start making decisions there. Yeah, really. I mean, anything and everything. As soon as I hear somebody's... Manus is my favorite. Perplexity is certainly very, very good as well. But either of those two would be the place that I would suggest people go.
Very cool. What about strategies? I know that, some examples of you use AI for strategizing business and strategizing how you're going to market or sell and things like that. How do you use AI for strategies, and what are some of the tools that you use?
I mean, I was about to say I don't, but the answer is that AI is embedded in everything I do. So when I was launching the new Done For You product, I was like, hey, this is my idea. I reckon that this is, from what I've heard from my customers, I reckon this is something that we should probably look at. And it's a 3-day conversation. And at the end of the 3-day conversation of brainstorming and back and forth, I'm like, cool. So what price point do you think we should use based on go and research this and bring back pricing, and then go and research this and bring back this. Webinar or challenge, like how are we actually going to promote this? Are we going to go straight to calendar? Or are we going to go to webinar? So I guess that's really the definition of strategy work, of like, we spent days and days and days talking, clarifying, her asking me questions, me asking her questions, until we came up with something that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. Now, based on everything we've just done, can you write the funnel for me? It's like, sure, here it is. I'm like, great. What are we going to do for ads? We should do this. Great, let's do that. So it blends itself quite interestingly. In my case, it blends from concept to strategy to tactic to execution in the same thread.
Yeah.
It's not actually separated out. But yeah, it's just Claude and conversations, I guess, is the real answer.
Yeah. So you're strategizing, even some of they're simple, but clarity is so needed, right? What you're selling, who you're selling to, how you're going to sell it, what should you price it at, how are you gonna, where are you gonna make the offer, challenge, webinar, etc., book a call. I think that's phenomenal. So Claude is what you use, and are you?
Yeah, but even on a more personal level, I'm flying to Dallas on Sunday. I'm away until a week Tuesday, and I started the process today of going, hey, so I'm traveling. So based on what we've discussed before, what actions do I need to take? So one of the things is to adjust my sleep in my calendar. And one of the actions I do is I adjust my sleep every day by an hour as I start to go, and then on the way back, so I negate the jet lag a bit. Then we've talked about when am I going to do check-ins with the kids and what new interesting ways can I keep my connection with my children whilst I'm away. Last time I had it send them a joke every day from me. This time we're going to use Postmark to send them postcards, so that you can take a picture on your phone and then just send it as a postcard so it arrives in the post. But more importantly for me, well, not more importantly, but more pertinent, the reason I thought of this when you said something, was I'm really working on my health journey. It's a really important part. I want to, when I hit 50,
Great job, by the way.
Thank you. But AI has been a huge part of that conversation of like, okay, I'm going to be at the conference this day, and this day, and I'm going to be in this hotel there, and I'm going to fly then. These are the days when I can screw it up. Like, these are the days when I can go back into really old habits. So how am I going to adopt that? So let me give you a stupid example. One of my old treats used to be a Starbucks caramel macchiato at the airport. I love those things.
Love those things.
Until I found out that they're 1,100 calories.
Yeah.
I'm like, 1,100, like that's like half of my daily limit in one drink.
In one drink.
I'm like, okay, I can't do that anymore. So the last time I traveled, I'm like, okay, we've got to find something else. And what we decided to do was to get a shot of espresso from each of the light roast and the dark roast, and a shot of each of the different types of espresso, and then see if I could taste the difference. So I created this game where I was like, a taste difference. So like, could I even tell which was the expensive one and the cheap one? And I know it sounds so stupid. I built this whole rule set on the plane. It took like 2 hours of like, I'll put that one there and I'll put that one there and I'll do this and I'll do this. So by the time I got off the plane, I was super excited to play this game with myself. And I was more excited about that than I was about the idea of having a caramel macchiato. Because what I realized was, or what Claude realized, was it wasn't about the caramel macchiato. It had become a celebration. And it had become an experience. I love experiences. I don't really care if you and I, go and have a $10,000 dinner, or we go to a street vendor. But what I do care about is that it's memorable. I don't care why it's memorable. That's, it could be because something funny happened or something terrible happen or something great happen or the food, but I love experiences. I love celebrations and experiences. So if I turn some of my bad habits into experiences and I play with them, then I can work with them, and so I can still get. I guess what I'm saying is, denying yourself is a really stupid idea and doesn't work. Understanding yourself so that you can still play with yourself in ways that you find interesting is a really good idea.
Yeah.
And AI is very, very good. I mean, it's essentially what it does, at pattern.
Yeah.
So you can say, this is what I'm doing, I need your help. And it will go, oh, well, I kind of know you now. So actually, it's probably this. And you're like, no way, I'd never thought of that. Yeah, it is that actually. It's like, great. Well, why don't we do this? And you're like, yeah, that's a super cool idea. Now, the end result of this only works for me, but the process works for anyone.
Yeah.
So from a strategic perspective, I don't think I'd have lost, 45 kilos, 106 pounds.
That's crazy.
I don't think I'd have lost 106 pounds if AI didn't exist. There's been a lot of great humans helping me, like my coach and my wife as well, for sure. But AI was definitely part of that journey.
Huge part of it. Let's take this more practical now. So we all, we're running a business, you and I, right? We're selling something, right? We're selling some type of an offer or multiple offers. The client says yes to us. Now, after the client says yes, we have to, support the client, right? We have to work with the client. We have to deliver. We have to fulfill on our promise, right, of our offer. How do you give us some examples? How do you use AI to interact with your clients, to support them, to coach them, things like that? How do you do that? And what are some of the tools that you've actually are using?
Yeah, so we lean into quite high touch human delivery, and it's it's scaled, but it's very deliberate, because as we referenced this at the beginning, I think that we're going to get out prompted and out AI'd by people younger than us.
Totally.
Because it's just natural, that's the way things happen. But what I don't think they can do is out wisdom and out discern us.
I agree.
So I want high touch human programs. Like, all of my programs are delivered live. And that's just a choice I've made. So to me, it's about, how do I facilitate that experience as much as possible? So all of my content that I deliver is generated by AI. My slideshows are generated by AI. My talking points are generated by AI. The prompts that I give them are generated by AI. AI reviews my performance after every call and gives me coaching notes for next time. So it runs through a retro. When it runs through the retro, if I agree with the retro, it sends the points into ClickUp for the team to execute on the various different things. Each coaching client, all their calls are recorded, both to give coaches feedback and also to send them follow-up notes on what they should do. Then we have all of our content library across the last 3 years is digitized and fed into my clone. So they can ask my clone questions at any time, like, how did I do that? Or what did he do then? Or how does this work? Or what should I do here? And it talks like me. It's got my voice, it's got my face, and it's got all the knowledge that I've used for the last 3 years. So to us, it's been about, how do we facilitate, like I said, about going back to that primary question. The primary question is, how do I scale human touch without scaling human effort?
Yeah.
So we look across all the points where the effort had to be exerted in order to deliver a human high-touch experience, and we removed those wherever we could, so that it is still just me and them. It is still humans and human to human, but it's very, very easy for us to do.
Yeah, they're still getting experience. That's amazing. That is something I just learned from you. I'm going to use that. I can't believe I didn't think about that. I mean, I can, I'm on weekly coaching calls, and yeah, I can literally assess how I did, and then give me notes and potentially give me, more coaching and subjects.
Well, it sends ours, the little agent that does this. It's quite cute. It's one of my first ones, actually. Yeah, first of all, it sends me a report that goes, you missed this, you should have talked about this, you didn't talk about this, there was an opportunity for a commercial engagement here which you didn't pick up on. It's like, oh, idiot.
Wow.
Then it sends them a thank you so much, sis, next time, this is what we discussed, this is what you committed to, this is what we're working on next. But really interestingly, it sends them questions to interact with the clone. So it will say, before we next meet, talk to my clone about these 3 things. The reason we did that is it started at the very beginning. What we found is, a guy asked me for how to scale his business, and I was like, okay, it was a paid call. I was like, before we start, what are the numbers? What's the revenue? And what's the margin? Let's just start with the highest level thing. And he said, I'm doing 40% margin and we're doing 2 million a year. Like, okay. So I gave him a strategy that was based around paid ads. But in order to not waste all of the time on the call, I was like, go and talk to my clone about this, this, and this before we next speak. Well, it turns out that he wasn't doing 2 million on a 40% margin. He was doing 800,000 on a 15% margin because the people don't lie to the robots. So when my clone asked him how much he was doing, he gave a completely different number.
Wow.
I'm not offended. It just became this massive insight of that different information can be gathered through watching somebody interact with a clone versus somebody interacting with you. Because between two humans, there's always ego. It's impossible. Even husband and wife, there's still ego involved because we're human. But that doesn't exist as much when humans are talking to robots.
Wow. Let's talk about sales. I know that we all have to sell. We all have to make offers. Where
We don't
does
have to. We get to, my friend.
we get to? Yeah, we get to. Yeah, that's right. How do you use AI for sales to support your sales? And what are some of the tools out there that you're using?
So we have a custom agent that does enrichment. So as soon as a new lead lands, it goes and pulls down records. It pulls down demographic, behavioral, psychographic records. So it kind of, instead of having preset automations, we kind of have a good idea of what we should be selling and what's actually useful. So that's the first thing that happens, which is really crazy and very, very handy. So the AI is the one that's doing the qualification, not us. And then we put them into an audit funnel is the normal way, which was designed by AI, developed by AI, delivered by AI. And that then comes in and then separates them even further into buckets. And then we have an AI setter in place for our low ticket programs. So it will literally call them, text them, interact with them.
Get them to buy your low ticket. Is it like a ticket to challenge or what is it?
It's no $200 a month for the mastermind with a 14-day free trial.
People actually buy your $200 a month mastermind from your agent.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Now, we have an advantage because we're an AI company and I recognize that.
Sure.
But one of the things that we ask everybody to consider, again, I don't believe that AI should pretend to be human. So all of our AI agents start with, hey, my name's Jim. I'm an AI agent over at PSI. I'm betting that you can't tell I'm not human. And if we chat for 3 minutes and you think I'm full of blank, then you should hang up. So we have fun with it deliberately.
That's great.
Yeah, and then what we found is people don't care. But where they do care is when AI pretends to be human and does a bad job of it, then they really care. So, and it will go, listen, it's great sentences. It will say, listen, I'm not offended if you don't want to do it because I'm a robot, so I can't be offended.
Yeah.
And I'm also not going to be upset because I can tell you, and another human might not tell you this because they might be a risk being upset, but you're making a bad decision. And the person will go, well, why do you think that? And it goes, I don't think that, I know that because I'm AI. It's like, it really, really leans in to getting it done.
So, Peter, can you give me some examples? Like, what were the guardrails for that? What were parameters that you set or rules that you said that you set this AI agent to be able to sell your $200 mastermind a month mastermind without talking to a human? So just real quick, like what are some things that you actually did for somebody who set it up?
Yeah, so I started in pure text mode, not calling mode, and I got it to text another AI so that we could run, it was about 1,000 times a minute. We ran the whole conversation 1,000 times a minute we did 60,000 conversations because AI can talk to AI. So we had an AI as the setter and AI as the customer. And we had the customer AI report back on how it felt about the conversation. And then we asked it to revise its own rules based on its own feedback. So it self-improved.
Wow. Awesome.
It took about 4 hours.
That's great. How long has it been running and selling that, and how many has it sold?
A couple of months. Probably only about 20 because we currently don't have lead flow into the low ticket stuff. We're about to soup that up now, because now we've done the high ticket. We're going to have a lot of people that don't qualify for the high ticket that we'll bring into the low ticket. So my goal is, call it by mid this year, I'd like it to be doing 10 a day and at a $0 cost.
And send them up your value ladder to your high ticket afterwards, right? Very cool. Leads, since you talk about lead flow, what are some examples you're using AI for lead generation and list nurturing?
The one that we just said, Facebook, it conceived the ads, it did the creative. Granted, I had to press the buttons to set up the campaign, but it did the campaign. We're currently, for our $50,000 offer, click-through rate is currently 9.2, and our cost of acquisition for somebody to join the webinar is $22.50, which I think are both pretty substantially amazing.
That's phenomenal numbers.
And we launched that on Sunday, so that's been running for 4 days. So we just added LinkedIn ads, which again it wrote and it deployed, and we're about to add another 50 sets of creative over the next couple of days. Again, our goal there is to get 100 people registered per week, with 30 people attending the webinar and closing 3. So our goal is to do $50,000 times 3 per week to start with. So what's that? $150,000 per week, $600,000 per month. And that's our first run. We haven't scaled the campaign at all yet.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's talk about the last thing. You could be the best company in the world. You could have the best offer, the best product. You could be the best coach. Unless you are great at marketing, driving traffic, again, there's people already buying. They just need to know that you exist. How are you using AI to market better? And what are some of the tools that you're actually using to drive traffic so that people know that Peter exists?
So we're still playing around with this. I don't think we've been very good at this, for me, completely honest. We've spent the last couple of years focusing a lot more on the product and the delivery of the product than we did on the marketing. Whether that's right or wrong, it certainly has hurt my bank balance, but I'm very proud of what we built at the same time. But we've just started automatically looking for high intent signals and issuing new blog posts. So we've just redone the website, and we've redone it into raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we don't use WordPress or anything like that anymore, because now the AI can self-publish. So the AI can look, using those research agents, can look at what articles are trending and what topics are trending, and it knows how I think and feel about certain topics. So it can now write the content automatically and deploy the content automatically. So we're turning that on, not next week, the week after, and it will produce one 2,000 word piece per day.
Do you use AI for repurposing long form content? Because I'm a big believer of that, creating long form videos and then being able to turn that into.
We didn't used to. So we have these refresh cycles of, I will look at a piece of technology, because one of the things I think is one of the valuable things I do for my community is I'm the filter of going, don't even bother looking at that yet. Our SaaS bill would hurt you just to hear it. Like the amount of things that I'm testing and looking and going, well, does this actually work? Like, is it, and not just does it technically work, does it actually replace the human effort? A lot of people, it's one of my catchphrases, a lot of people have become very efficient at being ineffective. And we shouldn't be seeking, certainly as small businesses, we shouldn't even be seeking efficiency. We should be seeking effective. Like, small businesses are wildly inefficient, but the benefit, because they are so nimble, is they can be wildly effective. We should be seeking, preferably, being efficient at being effective, and using a tool that isn't ready yet. Like, lots of people love, like HeyGen, for example, that can do your video for you. Yeah. Wildly ineffective.
Yeah.
It doesn't work because it doesn't have the human range and tone and tonality that we have. It will, but it doesn't yet. Yeah. So one of the technologies that we have in our refresh cycle is Opus Munch for short production from long. And I literally just picked up Opus again on Monday after not looking at it for 3 months. Holy guacamole.
Right.
Has it come along? And again, as you said, it now puts us in this position where we have to look at our team and go, you might not be with us for much longer, because the amount of people that are in the role of creating short form content for me. So I went to pick up a trading card today from, I won this in an auction like this. Beautiful thing. Wow. So I just recorded myself in the car for an hour, and I fed it into Opus when I got back, and I've got 96 clips. 96! Like, all I did was just put the phone on record as I'm driving to pick this thing up and drive back, and I just spoke about 100 random different things that came to my brain. And I've got 96 clips. It's utterly insane.
Right now, before I actually record my long form, I have it write the script, the stories, the points that I want to make. Comes up with the thumbnails already, the thumbnail titles, the video title, the video description, before I actually even record, right? So that's how I actually leverage AI now as well. And then when I record, and then the repurposing, the getting all the clips, the shorts, the reels, and all that stuff, the Instagram posts, all of that is
It's just
all
insane.
there now. It's insane, and so that's how we use it as well, because I believe that businesses have only two problems. They have a content problem, where they're not creating enough content, so nobody knows that they exist. And then the second problem they have is they have a distribution problem. Some people create enough content, but they're not leveraging, ways to get their content, in front of people. And AI will definitely help you with both, without a doubt. Yeah. So
100%.
very, very cool. Cool. Well, Peter, man, I really appreciate you being on this call today. I really wanted to, to talk to somebody about AI, and you were the first person I wanted to talk to about
Thank you,
this.
buddy.
Last words about AI for our audience before we take off?
15 minutes a day. Like, there is no survive option in this future. There is a thrive option and there's a die option. And if you're the kind of person that follows SIS, then you're probably a pretty cool cat. And I'd rather you have the thrive option than the die option. So 15 minutes a day, just try it. You have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain.